It's Wednesday, April 8, 2026. Ceasefire in Iran, Christian civilization in Hungary, and Virginia is for leavers. Next on the AM Update. Prior to the deadline for a deal to be done with Iran, President Trump posted on Truth Social last night, quote, based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran, and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention in this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So is this Trump always chickens out, or is this a win for President Trump? If it's a win, we won't know for quite a while. That's always been my contention. If it's an L, we'll know quite soon. Again, that's just my estimation. President Trump also posted the official statement from Iran from Syed Abbas Araghchi, that's the foreign minister in Iran, who said, quote, on behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I express the gratitude and appreciation for my dear brothers, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Sharif, and Field Marshal Munir for their tireless efforts to end the war in the region in response to the brotherly requests of Sharif and his tweet. And considering the requests by the U.S. for negotiations based on its 15-point proposal, we sent the 10-point proposal. All is well and good. We are agreeing to a ceasefire as long as the attacks stop on our territory, yada, yada, yada. So it sounds like Iran is agreeing to this 2-week ceasefire. Now, of course, CNN is up to its typical tricks nearly immediately after President Trump tweeted out the news about this ceasefire. They ran this headline, Iran claims victory, says it forced U.S. to accept a 10-point plan. The story goes, Iran says it has achieved a great victory and forced the United States to accept its 10-point plan, according to a statement from Iran's Supreme National Security Council reported by Iranian state media. President Trump says this story from CNN is a total fraud. The false statement was linked to a fake news site from Nigeria. So there's that as well. The S&P 500 has erased all of their losses from recent days, and especially yesterday as well. Turned green on the day yesterday. Also, WTI crude and Brent crude dropping like a rock. As one of the key pillars of this supposed ceasefire is the agreement by Iran to open up the Strait of Hormuz. So, there it is. Everybody freaking out about President Trump's posts the last couple of days, both on Easter and yesterday morning. Everybody freaking out, trying to invoke the 25th. Well, it sounds like we've got a ceasefire. Also, I noticed this yesterday. Polymarket, the prediction market, their odds for whether or not there will be a leadership change in Iran by the end of this month doubled. By the end of this year, went from 40 to 60%. I wonder what explains that. So there is that. This was about 4 to 6 weeks, which is kind of what he said. President Trump said at the outset of Operation Epic Fury, about 4 to 6 weeks, and then we're going to come home. We'll see if it holds. It's the subject of our poll of the week, and you can vote on that over at Real AM Update on X. Vice President J.D. Vance was in Hungary yesterday in Budapest in support of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban as he attempts to regain and get reelected as the nation's top office. During his visit with Prime Minister Orban, Vice President J.D. Vance remarked about the shared Christian history of their two nations. Listen to this.
President Trump's leadership. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here primarily, Victor, because of the economic cooperation between our countries. I'm here because of the moral cooperation between our two countries. Because what the United States and Hungary together represent under Victor's leadership and under President Trump's leadership is the defense of Western civilization. the defense of the idea that children should be able to go to school and get educated and not indoctrinated, the defense of the idea that European and American families should be able to transport themselves and be able to afford to heat and cool their homes, the defense of the idea that we are founded on a certain Christian civilization and Christian values that animate everything from freedom of speech to rule of law to respect for minority rights and protection of the vulnerable. There is so much that unites the United States and Hungary, and unfortunately, there have been too few people who have been willing to stand up for the values of Western civilization. Viktor Orban is the rare exception that has unfortunately proved the rule. That's one of the reasons why I'm here.
So there is Vice President J.D. Vance echoing a lot of my sentiments, at least from the cheap seats of Viktor Orban. Vice President Vance also held some sort of a rally in Hungary as well, and he got a surprise phone call in the middle of a speech.
J.D., could you give me a second? I'm just... Wow, that's some...
Mr. President, you are on with about 5,000 Hungarian patriots, and I think they love you even more than they love Viktor Orban.
Well, I can't believe that. I can't believe that.
So there's President Trump calling J.D. Vance in the middle of his rally in Hungary. Boy, J.D. Vance knows how to butter up his boss, I think, just a little bit. Is Virginia for leavers? We shall soon find out. Is it going to be added to the list of blue states facing an exodus? House Democrats' loss of 14 seats to Republicans in the 2020 election was apparently an eye-opening experience for then Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, who blamed the ease and effectiveness with which critics branded her party as a bunch of radical leftists. The stories from The Blaze. Spanberger said on a post-action House Democratic caucus phone call, quote, "We need not ever use the word socialist or socialism again," she said of the Democrats' loss of seats in the House in 2020. She said, because while people think it doesn't matter, it does matter, and we lost good members because of that. Years after acknowledging the importance of concealing radical impulses from voters, the former undercover CIA officer who participated in the anti-Trump resistance after the 2016 election ran for governor of Virginia, campaigning in 2025 as an even-keeled and unifying pragmatist. The media then, of course, forwarded that narrative, no surprise. It is now obvious, however, the supposed moderate who defeated former Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears is, of course, not as advertised, not the run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-road moderate that she ran on. A damning new Washington Post Schar School poll revealed on Monday that Virginians, realizing now too late how Spanberger really operates, have largely soured on the Democrat governor. Her approval rating is so low, it set a record in Washington Post polling. I keep telling you this. Keep harping on this over and over and over again. This is the Democrats' playbook. They're running on it openly, lying to the voters. Just lie to them. Just lie. I saw Rob Sand, the gubernatorial candidate here in Iowa for the Democrats, who is basically running unopposed. I think he is now actually running unopposed. He's doing the same playbook himself. Quoting scripture as long as the day is. He said the other day that he thinks mandatory prison sentences should be involved for those who defraud the taxpayers. Now, I'd like to see what he has to say about those who maybe groom school children, school counselors, teachers et al. I'm sure he probably wants to give them an award. It's rich coming from a guy like that, but those talking points, those are very populist sounding talking points, and I assure you if people like Rob Sand get elected in November, going to be very much the same story that Virginia is facing right now. Now, there are some, however, who are unabashed still and calling themselves socialists, slapping whatever labels they want to. One of those is Democrat Representative Summer Lee. Summer Lee is from the state of Pennsylvania. She's on the road campaigning with Hassan Piker. He's that just rabid Muslim Islamist communist. I mean, he's like Islamunist. He's kind of like the Zoran Mamdani type of guy. He is out campaigning with Democrat Representative Summer Lee. And Summer Lee says stuff like this.
Right now, we are in the midst of fascism. We are in it. And I think that for Americans in America, sometimes it's hard to admit that. But the work that we're actually going to have to do to get us out of this moment, to build what comes next, is...
We are in the midst of fascism, Summer Lee says, freely, on a campaign trail, while campaigning with a millionaire YouTube streamer who has called for the streets to run red with the blood of capitalists, Hassan Piker. We are in the midst of fascism, she says freely, without any fear of comeuppance. Okie dokie. When we come back, what is Chris Christie eating now, and what's wrong in Canada? It's coming up next. This guy climbed out of his spider hole.
I think anybody who follows politics right now can tell there are no principles left in my party. And even for people who agree with some of the stuff the president's doing, if you're really honest with yourself, you know it's not based on principle. He wakes up every morning and tries to figure out what is the best thing for him to do in his self-interest that day.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie saying that the Republican Party has no principles. It's because you ate them on the way out, Governor Christie. So why? He doesn't really mean that either. He still refers to my party has no principles. If you really believe that, then why are you still part of that party? Inquiring minds want to know. It's been a long week and it's only Wednesday morning. Let's go to Canada, shall we? I want to ask you a question. What's wrong with this?
For the last 7 years, Jonathan Bédard, Eric Leblanc, and Justin Maheu have been waiting to become parents together, something that officially happened yesterday.
She's perfect, of course. She's curious, she's energetic, she loves to play, she loves to jump, she loves to dance.
They adopted their 3-year-old through Quebec's Youth Protection Services, but first had to be approved as foster parents, something that required a lot of work and openness, they say, to their relationship.
We had a lot of things to go through in order to be able to have that accreditation, and it's through that process that they learned that we are a little different because we're 3, but we're not different from any other family.
Some other Canadian provinces, including Ontario and British Columbia, legally recognize more than 2 parents. Quebec does not. Last April, a Quebec Superior Court judge ruled the government has a year to modify the civil code to allow a child to have more than 2 recognized parents, saying the current situation is unconstitutional and violates the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms since it discriminates against different family models. Quebec is appealing the decision. The Justice Ministry declined our request for an interview, saying they won't comment since the matter is in court.
There it is. Yes, you heard that right. 3 men in a polygamous homosexual relationship were able to adopt a little girl in Canada. I want to ask you again, what's wrong with that? What's wrong? Places like Canada, places like the United States, under the guise of redefining marriage, what they did was undefine it. If marriage is not between a man and a woman, if it can be between a man and a man or a woman and a woman, why can't it be between a man and a man and a man? Why? What's the limiting principle? Answer, there is none. I'm not sure how many lefties actually are offended by a story like that or get the ick when hearing stories like that. I'm not sure how many of them exist. I'm sure there are a few. But my goodness. It's just... when you open that Pandora's box, it's hard to close it again. And that stuff's happening right up north. That's going to do it for a Wednesday. Back at it again tomorrow. Hope you have a wonderful day. Talk at you again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.